Hello and welcome to Willow Talk's T20 World Cup Wrap-Up and wrap-up of yet another, unfortunately, loss for the Australian men over there in the Caribbean. A 24-run loss to India in a crucial Super 8s game. It doesn't mean we're out of the World Cup, but it means a miracle needs to happen. As we sit here right now, it's before Afghanistan and Bangladesh, but we'll get to that in a moment. What we do want to talk about with Brad Haddin and Alyssa Healy, good morning, is Heels. Where did Australia lose this game?
First of all, morning. Obviously not ideal news to wake up to, but at the same time, I'll look at probably a few different areas, but I think, honestly, I thought they just got a little bit outplayed by India. I thought, in particular, their intent with the new, against the new ball, world class, got them off to a good start, got a really good total on the board. Was always going to make it really challenging to get themselves over the line. But, just probably a little bit outgunned maybe.
Yeah, I think that they got done by Rohit Sharma. I thought that knock in a must-win game like that was outstanding. The way he took on the first 6 overs was just brutal. He went after the Australian bowlers. He showed real intent. And the rest of his team followed. Australia got themselves back into the game. Travis Head was playing well, but in the end, it was just a brutal attack by Rohit Sharma.
Yeah, so to recap what happened at the very, very start, Mitchell Starc, the Australian selectors clearly listened to Willow Talk because he was straight back in for Ashton Agar. Australia won the toss and again bowled first. Very windy day in St Lucia. There's a bit of rain around as well. There's a bit of a rain delay. It didn't take any overs off with the new rules that they've got, but it just forced it deeper into the night here in Australia, which made us all happy. But anyway, that's by the by. Australia got off to a cracking start. Virat Kohli, when you get him out for a duck, you feel pretty good about life. But as Had said just there, Rohit Sharma went berserk. He ended up with 92 off 41, and he was going back to the 50-over World Cup. He was the one that, once we got him there, it felt like victory was more than attainable. What happened here? How did he just get into such a rhythm?
Well, I tell you what, he's as much as I'm an Aussie and I'm an Aussie fan, I do love watching Rohit Sharma absolutely get going. He's one of the cleanest strikers of the ball. I think one of those shots off Mitch's second over that he hit over cover, he just literally leant into it and just chipped it over cover and it went for 6. So he's one of those players that once he does get going, he's really, really hard to stop. I think he obviously cashed in rather nicely on maybe a third over of our bowling innings. But like I said, once he gets going, he's really, really hard to stop. He's a really good player of the short ball, which obviously the Aussies were trying to stay away from early. Obviously got Virat Kohli early with a short ball, but you want to keep it away from him early on unless you get it really right. So he cashed in on a lot of full stuff and got himself going. And like I said, once he starts, he's really, really hard to stop.
Just quickly, Heels, sorry. You say there you love watching Rohit Sharma get into that rhythm. Even against the Love one, he took 28 off Mitch, off his bat.
Yeah, I mean, that's cricket. Unfortunately, that is the game. As an opening batter, you want to see that unfold. I want that to happen more often than not. As captain, I don't want it to happen more often than not, but that's okay. But obviously not ideal, and I could sit here and say that, that wasn't great. But at the same time, from an Indian perspective, you've got to look at it and go, wow, they got off to an unbelievable start, and that was probably what kick-started them.
Had you talk about intent, so yeah, Rohit Sharma did what he did against the new ball in the power play. India won for 60. Australia more than matched that, oddly enough. But one thing stood out for me in India's innings was as soon as Adam Zampa got the ball in his hands, they went after him. Now, we've seen this before. How did Australia kind of try to wriggle around that?
Well, you've seen Adam Zampa's first ball went for 6. Pant whacked it out of the ground for 6, and we've spoken for a long time. And watching this Australian team close, the most important bowler is actually Adam Zampa. If he has a bad game, more often than not, Australia are behind the 8 ball. We've seen that at the start of the 50-over World Cup where he wasn't at his best, and once he got into rhythm, the Australian looked like a new team, and India looked like they'd spoken about just showing real good intent and trying to flex their muscle to this Australian cricket team, not allowing the Australian fast bowlers to dictate to them. Rohit Sharma come out and did that as a captain. And as soon as Zampa came on, you could just see the two talking in the middle of the wicket. They looked at him when he walked into bowl, and Pant just went after him straight away. So it was obviously a tactic to put him off his game, knowing the importance he has on this Australian team to control the middle overs.
I mean, they went after Marcus Stoinis and they went after Paddy as well. So Josh Hazlewood by far and away had the best bowling figures, 1 for 14 off his 4. But Pat cops and Tap, they reversed his first name, and Marcus Stoinis as well conceded over 50. I mean, what was there a clear tactic there, or it was just see ball, hit ball?
Well, I think when you all of a sudden we're on a better wicket, we're on a flatter wicket, and India on a roll. Sometimes bowlers go for some, but it's more about trying to limit the damage and create opportunities. And obviously we created some opportunities that weren't taken, but also probably just didn't create enough. But yeah, it is what it is. I mean, like I said, we've been playing on some wickets that have been quite bowler friendly, and to all of a sudden get on a wicket that has been throughout this tournament a little bit more flat against a really good, dangerous, powerful batting lineup. It was sort of a recipe for disaster in the end.
Yeah, it was one after another, wasn't it, Had? So, I mean, Rohit Sharma did his thing, but Yadav made some runs. Shivam made some runs, and Hardik Pandya as well got a life. It was an absolute dolly by Mitch Marsh that he grasped and goes on to kind of make the runs that ended up being the margin, oddly enough, Hads.
Yeah, just going back to that bowling, it looked like they'd done their homework really well. You've seen Zampa's first ball went for 6, which we've spoken about. But so did Paddy's. And the one thing you have to do against this team, you've got to try to put pressure back on this world-class bowling attack. And Paddy's bowled a lot of pace-off deliveries through this tournament. He's had a lot of success. And Rohit Sharma looked like he'd set up for that first ball. Because it's very rare that you see Paddy get swept for 6. So it looked to me that the Indians had done their homework really thorough on our bowling attack and wanted to put pressure on them really early in their over rather than let the Aussies dictate. But yeah, it was what they did well with their batting. They just complimented Rohit Sharma. They did their job. They kept the scoreboard moving. Hardik Pandya was a really interesting one at the end. Take that catch. Mate, he got another 27 runs. It could have been a different story, but they were clinical with the bat.
What's a word Hads for our fielding this tournament?
I think they dropped 15 catches. It's just been un-Australian. It hasn't been the standards that this group have set. They'll be disappointed with that. They've spoken about that, and it's just something that we don't expect from this group. They've got some great athletes. They've squeezed a lot of games and big tournaments with their presence in the field, and that just wasn't quite there this tournament. And in the end, it's probably cost us a bit.
Sorry, Heels, I jumped in there. I just wanted to get a swear word out of Brad, but he didn't oblige. But you were about to make a point on the previous point?
No, I think I was about to make a point on that very point, that I think our fielding as if you wanted a word from my end, it was costly, and had used it right at the end. I think you could use a couple of different ones for what it looked like throughout the tournament, but I think at the end of the day, it's costly, and we could be sitting here in a couple of hours' time watching the next game unfold and sit here and the boys could be on a plane home. So I think at the end of the day, you look back on some different performances throughout the tournament, but at the same time, I think it's probably been our fielding which has let us down.
Was there any solace though in the fact that it dried up a little towards the end? There was only 5 boundaries in the last 6 overs. Heels, did that give you a thought that this was more than possible to chase?
Yeah, I still felt like they were a little bit over par. I thought we probably, not to harp on about it, but that catch is going to come back and maybe haunt us a little bit. But at the same time, I felt like they were still a little bit over par. There haven't been too many scores of 200 in this tournament so far, and let alone chase down. So if you're going to try and keep a side like India to under 200, I feel like you're around 180, 185 even. I feel like you're in the game a little bit, knowing you've still got to bat really well. So yeah, Still, don't get me wrong. I think at the turn, I still thought we were maybe in it, but I felt like they were maybe 15-20 over par.
Hey, Hads, just back again to what you made a point about going after a strike bowler with the first ball. I mean, that, as a batter, take us into the batter's shoes there, because that is some pretty big cojones that you're showing there to say, okay, no matter what this ball is, I'm going to try and hit it over the rope. Like it sounds easy to do and it looks easy to do in the modern day, but it can't be that easy, like using that mindset in a big game.
Well, I think India had to, Adam. They haven't been great in World Cup events for a long time now. They haven't gone to a final or won one for some time. So I think back to 2011. It was the last time that they won a final. So they had to change something as well in these big matches to keep progressing in the tournament. And the one thing you can do, you can use analytics in various ways, but you can actually use them in ways to get a pattern into your batting. We've seen with Paddy's been bowling a lot of slow ball, so maybe Rohit Sharma had watched that and just set up for the slow ball and thought the first slow ball he gets, I'm going to take a risk and put the pressure back on him, and he did that. Adam Zampa was an obvious one. Everyone's spoken about that for some time, that you have to go after Adam Zampa if you want to beat this Australian team, because he controls the middle overs. And when you're playing someone like Starkey at the top of the order, and we've seen it at times in the IPL, if you let him dictate to you, he can be brutal in those first 6 overs. And it looked like they just had a real mindset to unsettle the Australian batters, and tonight it worked.
Yeah, I'm nodding along in the behind the scenes here, and that's exactly how we look to play the modern game. It's you get ahead of the bowler early in the over, and more often than not, you can do all the analysis and know exactly what most bowlers' stock balls are that they are bowling first ball of the over. I mean, most bowlers are running in trying to get a little bit settled in their spell. You can kind of predict maybe what they're going to bowl and set up for that. So maybe that is exactly what Had said, that Rohit Sharma knew exactly that, Paddy was going to bowl a little bit back of a length and get inside it and slog sweep it for 6. I haven't seen something quite remarkable like that. But that is the modern game. It's to get on top of the bowlers early and just try and continue to cash in on that over and make the bowlers chase their tail a little bit.
Yeah, well, it was part of a remarkable innings from Rohit Sharma, as made mention of at the top. 92 of 41 deliveries, 15 boundaries. The rest of the Indian innings contained 14 boundaries, and Rohit overtakes Babur Azam as the leading run scorer in men's T20 internationals. Full stop. A little pause, back in a sec with Australia's run chase. So Australia's run chase, it kind of mirrored India's in a lot of ways. So they lost Virat Kohli early on. We lost David Warner early on. But then Mitch Marsh and Travis Head came together and got us to 1 for 65 after 6 overs. So looking pretty good, Alyssa, after the power play. What was definitive about Travis Head's innings today?
I think just his brutal attack on everybody. I think that's exactly, we just spoke about Rohit Sharma and his ability to come in and take on the bowlers and put his team into a good position. And Travis Head did exactly the same thing on our side as what he has been doing in T20 cricket over the last 12 months, in particular the back end of that IPL. So, I thought we got off to a really good start. We were in a really good position, set, going at the required run rate. But it's always how you go after that power play that kind of sets the tone. But I thought the first 6 overs was exactly how we'd want to go about a chase like that.
At what point, Hads, do you think India were thinking to themselves, "Oh, we've read this book before with Travis Head. We've seen this before, not that long ago"?
Yeah, it would be hard not to think back to Ahmedabad. The big player for India, I think, deserves a lot of credit. You see Arshdeep, he got 3 for. Bumrah got the big wickets ahead, but he's been outstanding through the whole World Cup. He's Kuldeep Yadav. Mitch Marsh looked like he was about to get going. He was 37. Maxwell, we know, at times can be dangerous against attack like India, and he got bowled by Kuldeep Yadav for 20. So I think he took the crucial wickets there and put some pressure on that lower to middle order. But it was just as we're starting to get going and look like anything could happen. Kuldeep Yadav come in once again and bamboozled us with his spin.
Yeah, Kuldeep Yadav got rid of Mitch Marsh at the end of the 9th over when Australia at that stage were 1 for 87 and looking real good with Mitch Marsh looking good, but it was a cracking catch from Axar Patel. And overall, I mean, we talked before about Australia's fielding. How would you sum up India's fielding?
Less costly.
Hads, is it too presumptuous to call it Australian-like when we've been really on in the field? Because they were superb.
I think they have been for some time. I think since Virat Kohli took over, there's been a real focus on athleticism and creating a presence in the field. I know during the IPL, you've seen a big difference in the appetite for the Indian players to get better. There's a lot of competitions for spots over there now, as you know, with the talent they have. But the fieldings are one thing they're prioritised for some time, and in big events like a World Cup, that's where you want it to stand up. And tonight they'll probably a bit better than us in that department.
He was just on that catch to get rid of Mitch Marsh. Are you surprised by catches like that anymore, or you still look at it with wonderment? Because that was incredible.
Well, you more look at the scenario of it as well, that, all of a sudden that goes for 6, momentum's in Australia's favour a little bit, and that's what we've been speaking about the whole time about our fielding. It's like, how costly have some of our chances been? But no, I'm not surprised by that catch. I feel like every single T20 game of cricket that's being played nowadays, someone's taking an absolute hanger or doing something pretty special. So to back himself to come off the boundary like that, and to basically catch it one-handed over his head at the end of the day in a scenario like that, is pretty hard to beat.
I'm going to give you a boring answer. They actually practice that a lot. You spend a lot of time working on the rope, getting your distance right, what foot to take off, because it's such an important part of the modern game. How many catches do you see like that now? One happens every 2020 game. So, mate, the timing of it was the extraordinary thing about it. It was a match to defining catch, but they practice that sort of catch a lot now.
Well, I think the hardest part about it, and I can't comment too much because I stand with big gloves on my hand, and so did Brad, but the hardest ones seem to be the ones that go flat and hard along to the boundary riders. Generally, they're either dipping on you or rising, and they hit really, really hard, and that's exactly what happened. So, yeah, it's for him to be able to time his leap and to judge the height of it in particular and reel it in was very impressive.
Well, you knew it was hit hard. I mean, Mitch Marsh hit it, so it's not going to be hit softly, but the India support staff scampering out the way like he's getting away from hail falling from the sky was told a pretty good story about how hard that ball was hit. But be honest, guys, so you've got the great fortune of being able to look back on your career, which is still going, of course, Heels and Hads, yours is done, but you've taken some great catches in your time. Do you ever go on and have a look to make yourself feel good about yourself? Have a look at your best one that you ever took?
Nah, I don't think I ever have. I can safely say that I haven't gone on there to make myself feel better. I may have gone on to technically see what I did a bit better than what I'm doing now to make sure I could get there, but no, I don't. And I don't reckon Hads is either, unless he's put it on the group chat.
I've got a couple stored up. I'll send through once we get off. My kids have watched them, and they see you run around now, and you're not as quick and agile as you used to be. And they go, "Oh, Dad, but look, you used to be able to do this." So I've seen a couple.
Hads,
so
I can
that's
relate.
The trick.
Yeah,
that's the trick. You got to have kids. I see.
Yeah. Hads, I can relate to that because occasionally the kids will see something from about 10 years ago from television and go, "Geez, you had a lot of hair." And I just look at them and go, "Yeah." And then I had a lot of children. Be quiet. It's your fault.
Yeah. I know exactly where you're coming from. Dad, why didn't you just catch that? I can't move that fast anymore.
It's just on the fact that they used Kuldeep Yadav, you mentioned him, bowled very well, 2 for 24. Axar Patel, 1 for 21. Jadeja copped 17 off his 1 over, but they used 8 overs of spin. We didn't bowl Glenn Maxwell. Did we miss a trick there?
In hindsight, you can, but 2020 is a funny game. You've got a lot of bowling options there. You wouldn't want to bowl him to Rohit Sharma, I can tell you that. He might have gone from 90 to 120 really quick. So, yeah, I wouldn't read too much into that. That would have been more just on matchups and the two right-handers who are quality players of spin bowling. That'd be the only reason. It wouldn't have been a plan not to bowl him. It'd just been how the match panned out.
Yeah, agreed. I think, especially when you've got someone going. In saying that, I mean, we've got the beauty of hindsight. Could you throw him the ball and see if maybe he can jag you a wicket? But, I mean, it's hard to look at when you've got Rohit Sharma, Suryakumar Yadav, the likes of Shivam Dubey and then Hardik Pandya coming in as well that are just going to go bang, bang, bang. It's hard to see, how he comes into the attack. But was it worth a shot? Maybe, but here we are sitting here, looking at the fixture saying that. But when you got Mitch Marsh out there doing the job at the time, you can understand why he maybe didn't.
Yeah, fair enough. What really hurt Australia, Travis Head was still trucking along nicely, but Glenn Maxwell out for 20, Marcus Stoinis out for 2 within the space of 7 balls, and all of a sudden it feels like, someone's got to come in now and do something spectacular rather than being in some kind of control. Hads, is that how it felt to you?
Yeah, well, it was those back-to-back wickets. When that happens, you sort of got to consolidate for a couple of overs and try to build. And what we couldn't do then was get a rhythm back in a partnership. We just needed one partnership and a couple of those batters in Stoinis and David and Wade set for the last few overs to take us deep in that chase. But to India's credit, they just took consistent wickets. They survived the onslaught of Head and Marsh. They got through that. And from that point on, they basically just took wickets consistently, and we couldn't get any rhythm in our chase.
Heels, it's interesting when you're watching a run chase like that and you go, Tim David, he can clear the fence with any given ball. And then you see Rohit Sharma get the ball and the camera cut to Jasprit Bumrah catching it at the top of his mark, thinking, well, you're not going to get every given ball from this fella. It's going to be hard to get away.
Yeah, and that was kind of where the hard work probably needed to be done a little bit prior to that, when we've got players set in there that are going all right. They probably needed to put the foot down maybe a little bit earlier. But like you mentioned, the fact that we lost 2 wickets within 7 balls of 2 really key players that have done a lot of the work for us in this World Cup at times did make it really tricky. But that's what the engine room in the middle is there for. The Tim Davids and Matthew Wades are there to see us over the line, but maybe just a little bit too much work to do at the back end, knowing the class that they've got, at the death. But it is what it is, and we're international cricketers, and we've got to somehow find a way to get it done. But very tricky when Jasprit Bumrah's at the top of his mark as one of the best bowlers in the game. Well,
Hads, he just did Travis Head, and Travis Head was superb, 76 off 43. But it was 140, 140, 140, and then it didn't look like a back of the hand slower ball, but it took about 10 to 12 Ks off it, and up in the sky it went, and off Travis Head went. If you're in a position, Hads, where you need something to happen for you in these last 5 overs in T20 cricket, is Jasprit Bumrah the guy you're giving the ball to at the moment?
100%. Just the way he sets up his over. It was a great craft, the way he did it with Heady there. He just let go. He set him up for that slower ball, knowing Travis is likes pace on the ball. He's a one-pace hitter, but no, his cricket IQ is outstanding. He backs it up with great talent and skill. I would find him, Heels, hard to face off that short run, and to generate the pace he does. You just feel, to me, like you're rushed all the time.
Yeah, and you never really get a really good look at the ball because of his unique action, that it's like sort of like a rubber band. He stretches it out and then lets it go, and you only really see the ball really late out of his hand, but it's also snapping, like his wrist is snapping through the ball as well. So it'd be so hard to pick up. I don't know, that is what makes him really, really good. He's highly skilled, but like you mentioned, his cricket IQ, I think he's very well planned in what he does. I think every time I watch him play, every time he gets a wicket, it's almost like he's not surprised that he's got it, because that's exactly what he wanted to bowl, and that's exactly how he wanted to get that wicket. So, throw that in with an impossible action to pick up as a batter, and it's a dangerous combination.
Yeah, it sounds like fun. Sounds like great fun facing him. I mean, he's going to have, in 6 months' time, he's going to have a massive say in his series here, isn't he? If he comes with full form, I've said it before, and I know we're getting ahead of ourselves. We're just trying to divert from what happened overnight, but he tips the balance of the series, in my opinion, either way.
Well, he's a match winner. He does enjoy playing against Australia. The one thing, though, on our surface, it'll be really consistent. The pace won't worry the Australian batters, so it'll be interesting to see how he goes out here in Australia. Yes, he's a huge draw card, but I'm still backing our boys to get through him in Australian conditions.
Well, you also look at a test match scenario. We're not looking to slog him for 6 every ball, and I'm not saying that we do in T20 cricket either. You kind of sit on him a little bit, but you still got to attack him. So maybe with a red ball, things might turn in our favour a little bit. But in saying that, I'm not downplaying the class that he is and the skills that he's got. It's going to be a tough ask.
So all of that means that India's great performance and Australia falling just short means that basically we've turned into England a couple of weeks ago, and we're hoping for a result. Now, it's a pretty narrow path for Australia to get to a semi-final of this T20 World Cup. Australia need a Bangladesh win, but not by too much, over Afghanistan in a few hours' time as we sit here. Afghanistan win, they're in, full stop. But if Bangladesh win by 62 runs, for instance, or more, they're in. So, yeah. If you're a player, if you're an Australian player, how do you watch that? Do you?
With a beer.
Yeah, it's true. Or you don't watch. I don't know what they're going to do. I mean, the irony in us sitting here with smiles on our faces, like, last week when England were in the same boat? But this is so typical of a T20 World Cup. It literally normally comes down to net run rate or something silly like that, and that's why they're so hard to win, because you've got to be on the whole time and just keep winning. Otherwise, you get yourselves in positions like this and you're relying on other teams to do you a favour, which obviously no one's ever going to do. So I don't know what they're going to do. I assume that they're probably going to have a beer or two and watch the game and either book a flight home or book a flight to wherever they need to go next.
And book a tea time back in Sydney, maybe.
I think Bangladesh will win.
Sorry, repeat?
I think Bangladesh will win. I think it's obviously a really, really dangerous game, and that's stating the obvious for Afghanistan. They got the opportunity to go into the last 4, which they've never had before. So there's another pressure there. How do they come down off the massive high of beating Australia? That's an emotional toll on that Afghanistan group. That's never happened before. They'll be trying to keep a lid on it, saying our job's not done yet. Well, we've got one more game to go. But it's a different mindset now for Afghanistan going into this last game. They're going in knowing if they win, that they're into the next stage. And that's not a pressure that they've had to deal with before. So this game's not lay down misère. Bangladesh match up well against Afghanistan. So, yeah, I'm quietly confident Bangladesh can win.
Heels, keep your phone on at about 11:30 Eastern Australian time, because if Bangladesh are 7 for 20, our mate here is going to be he's going to know about it. Okay.
The group chat's going to fire up.
Or they're going to be very complimentary.
Yeah.
We'll call you the Oracle again.
No, because I don't think we've ever complimented you when you've been right, but we're happy to lay into you when you're wrong. So we'll wait and see how that unfolds for you.
Okay. So when you're listening to this, perhaps on what day are we? Tuesday in Australia, Tuesday afternoon, and you know it's all done, well, you can reflect on what has just been said and see who's right and see who's wrong. Because
At
it's
Brad Haddin.
Yeah.
Target that way.
I'm just saying it's a different.
Yeah.
It's a different mindset that Afghanistan go into this game, mate. That would have been an emotional toll after beating Australia. They've never done it before. A few years back, they never, ever would have thought about beating us. So it's how they come back. Can they produce another performance? Mate, they just got to turn up now, win this game, and you're in the final. Yeah, but Bangladesh, they got that one game in them.
Well, as Mitch Marsh said after the match, come on, Bangladesh. We'll wait and see. Also, we asked our T20 World Cup Instagram channel to sum up Australia's tournament. Brett, good start, poor finish. Yeah, hard to argue. Mal seems to be data-driven. Stark shouldn't have been rested. Look at KKR use. And James, underprepared, poorly executed, ordinary tactics, and a lack of fight. So that's the wonderful thing about Australian cricket. When it goes wrong, everyone just hops on and just gives an opinion. So that's the world we live in. That's Australian cricket. That's the world we've lived in for a very long time, though, with Australian cricket. That if you don't get it right, it will be known from the outer.
Well, that's purely because of how much success we've had over the years, and Australia are expected to win at everything that they turn up at. And it's not the case. And I just said how hard it is to win a T20 World Cup. We've been... we went really well in the UAE, but we didn't go so well in home conditions, and then we come into this one and things are on a knife's edge at the moment. We've actually played some really good cricket right throughout this tournament, but find ourselves in a position like this just purely because of the format it is and some sloppy performances. But look, a little bit harsh on some of that, but at the same time they're entitled to their opinion, and some of it is quite right.
Brad, you kind of keeled back when I said lack of fight.
I don't think it was a lack of fight. I think we've lost to a really good cricket team here in India. Obviously, they're going to be disappointed with the result. And when they sit down and review what went on, there's going to be some key areas that the Aussies won't be happy with. And fielding will be obviously at top of that list. But yeah, we expect Australian teams to be in the final, and this team will be as disappointed as anyone. They would have went to this tournament expecting to win.
Well, the reward for Australia, Afghanistan or Bangladesh is a World Cup semi-final against South Africa, which, if you're South African, you know hasn't been a comfortable place to be in sometimes. But well done to South Africa for getting through to the final four the other day against the West Indies. The other semi is already locked in because this is the way that this tournament is done. It's basically India. Who do you want to play and where? And they've decided, the ICC, that it's England in Guyana on Friday morning. So that's an interesting matchup, guys. A lot of firepower in those two sides.
That's going to be really fun to watch, and it's going to be interesting to see what conditions they get in Guyana to match up on. I think a lot of firepower. You mentioned you automatically look at the batting lineups and go wowee, but I think it's more so going to be dictated to by the ball. Bumrah comes into play. You've got the likes of Archer on the other side. Chris Jordan's going right as well. So I think it's going to be a really entertaining fixture to watch. Hopefully we get some good conditions to watch some free-flowing cricket.
Adam, we've been trying to educate you for some time on what happens in cricket, and you just said what wicket they will get. It will turn. India have known that they'll play at this venue for some time. It will turn.
Who wins?
Ooh.
India.
Well, I can't comment because I picked neither of them to make the semi-final. So I don't. Oh, I'm going to go India. I think they're looking good.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, well, I'll split the difference. If I've had to win England, I'll go India and go. We'll battle it out on Friday.
Heels, Hads, thank you for your time. We wait and support Bangladesh, basically, as we sit here right now. Have a good one. We'll catch you later in the week for some more Willow Talk chat.
Yeah, thanks for watching the Willow Talk podcast on YouTube. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button so you don't have to miss an episode wherever you are. And while you're at it, check out these videos up here. They're mostly good.